Ryzen CPUs. And apparently, there has been reports of the CPUs failing because something with, I think, the die connecting is like exploding or like catching on fire, from what I heard. What do you know about that? I'm not 100% sure on this one.
Okay, so these are not just their regular CPUs, it's their Ryzen 9000 series CPU, which are pretty popular though. So it's kind of a big deal because Ryzen right now is the chip to get if you're a gamer. If you're a gamer, you're going to get a Ryzen chip in your desktop computer. And there have been reports of them exploding. Well, not exploding as in like fireworks or whatnot, but like shorting out and smoking and being completely useless because they burnt themselves alive, which is weird. That shouldn't be happening at all. And it's happening mostly only on ASRock motherboards, but it also is happening on other motherboards too. So we're not sure exactly what it is. ASRock is the most common one, and they pushed out a fix for this with a BIOS update for all the motherboards. The problem is resurfacing again, so that didn't fix it. And then they put out another BIOS update 3 months ago that now you can see that it hasn't fixed it either. What it looks like is that there's too much power going into like 3 pins in one side. And when too much power comes to those 3 pins, it'll burn your CPU alive and burn your motherboard too. But we're not sure if that's the problem because in every single one that burns, it's in a different spot. So we don't know if the power is not being distributed properly between the pins or if the CPU is just taking too much power for the motherboard to handle. We're not exactly sure what's going on because CPUs are way beyond anyone's comprehension for the most part. Unless you're a like science engineer, you have no idea how that CPU works.
Yeah, so this is very interesting. Like, I don't know if I've really heard of a case of CPUs shorting themselves and burning themselves alive, but this is definitely not good, especially if let's say you're using that PC for work, and even though it's probably going to be for gaming. I mean, you can't just have your CPU shorting out, which renders the whole entire computer useless. And that that was what I was thinking about power. Like, I don't know, like surges maybe. And like you were saying about how it's in different places. I don't know, maybe like the pin design, like the pin connector design is faulty or defective or maybe like a bad design. I don't know.
But the problem is if it would be happening to their other CPUs too then. It would be happening to their like was it 8000 series that they have right now? It would be happening to those CPUs too. It's only the 9000 series. Maybe it's because those ones draw more power than the other ones, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it kind of makes sense though. If it's using the same die connecting structure as a less powerful chip, then maybe it just can't handle this newer, or not newer, but more power hungry, power intensive, more intensive chip. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they need to make a specific type just for this series, especially since from what I know, one of their more higher end series. So I really I don't. It sounds like this cannot be fixed with a software update. So that is going to be really bad. Like, it's going to cost a lot of money because you're going to have to redo the chips, redo stuff on the motherboard, and other things like that. So, and
Yeah, especially if it is if it's a power issue, there's no way for them to softwarely fix it. You could you could send less power to the CPU via software, but that's a problem. Your CPU is going to be much slower if you're sending less power to it. So they can't just fix it software. I mean, maybe it's too much power going to certain pins and it can spread the load out more evenly with the software update, but it's looking like it's a hardware problem.
yeah, and especially since they've already put out at least 2 updates, then it's definitely sounding like it's a hardware problem. So, very interesting. Like I said, I've never heard of a case like this happening. I think probably the most relevant thing I've heard like this is the red ring of death on the 360 had to do with the pins overheating and like moving and shifting and things like that. So this is definitely not good. It's sounding more like to me at least that it probably just has to do with that architecture of the pins cannot handle the power that that type of chip handles, because if it's working fine on the 8000 series, then it's probably that. And I don't think they could fix it with software from what we know so far, so.